Cześć, it's me again, and it was a good day. New Hypermotard SP with the new Ducati V2 engine. Exactly the same engine as we can see in the new Panigale V2 and Street Fighter V2. If we could see this bike first and maybe Desert X, which is coming, we could immediately fall in love in the new platform. In the meantime, they showed us Panigale V2 and Street Fighter V2, which were not accepted well in the internet. The engine has like 35 less horsepower than the previous models. But in this kind of bike, this engine makes a lot of magic. To be honest, it does it also in Panigale V2 and Street Fighter V2, but there's this thing about expectation which I mentioned in Panigale V2 video. So let's get back to this bike, because it's really easy to fall in love with it, especially when you're on this kind of racetrack and with this kind of other journalist. The expectations about the bike were always huge for me. I'm a big supermoto fan. Basically this is my way to train riding. So every time I saw Hypermotard, I was like, yeah, I was so pumped because of V2 engine, the supermoto chassis, and always that wasn't it. The bike was heavy, really stiff. You had to push it really hard to make it work. And in the end, there was not so much fun as you expected. Now, with the new engine, new frame, new swing arm, basically the whole bike is completely new. Now it properly stands for the name of Hypermotard. It really feels like a hyper supermoto, and we showed it plenty of times today. What surprises me a lot is that frame and swing arm was especially made for this bike, so it's not like they took the frame from Panigale V2 or Street Fighter or even Monster. So it shows how much dedication was involved into making this Hypermotard as good as possible. Engine has 120 horsepower, around 93 Newton meters of torque. With this Terminioni exhaust and mapping, it's around, I think, 126 and 95 or 96 Newton meters, whatever. You can find it somewhere in the tech sheets. And for me, like the stock power was totally enough. We didn't have a chance to ride it on the roads, but I remember when I tested Street Fighter. So I know the torque and power is enough for the streets, especially that in many countries nowadays the law is way more strict than it used to be. The only problem is that to get the full sensation of the bike, you have to be in Modena circuit as we are now. So this is track which is, I could call it like a big go-kart track. It has like 2.5 maybe kilometers. It's really hard to find the racetrack which would suit Hypermotard, because still on the short go-kart track it's going to be big bike. On the big track, I don't know. I think there is a big chance that it will behave well, because in the end we were hitting over 200 kilometers an hour on the straight. And when you put it together with the fun you had entering the corner, exiting the corner, sliding it, I think it would work. For sure, from my perspective, what would work would be the cup of Street Fighter SP. I can imagine 20, 30 guys and girls on the start line, because we had this moment today when we're in the group. There was ex-Supermoto World Champion with us. There was a guy from IDM Racing, from Ducati team. And what was interesting, all of us, we had a little bit different style of riding, but in the same time, our lap times were pretty comparable, and it was a lot of fun. What's the best performance is that you can keep the throttle open, which is impossible in most of the sport bikes nowadays. If someone tells me that he's going full on with his Panigale V4 and BMW S1000R, I never believe him, maybe on the straight, but to get the satisfaction of hitting the full gas and feeling the sliding of the bike, and you can feel the traction control just makes a little small intervention, that gives you a lot of joy. Speaking of joy, you can do whatever you want on this bike. Popping out the wheelies from second or even third gear from the throttle is easy. Then you switch for fourth or fifth, and you can pull it as long as you want. But what's most important, the bike behaves well when it goes fast, or maybe not fast, but as it was designed for. So you have to be smooth and you have to be quick, and then you get more and more from this construction. Because when I tried to make, let's say, slow wheelie on the first gear, it was pretty aggressive, but then with a lot of speed, with a little bit of speed, it was so smooth and easy. So quite typical Ducati. It's pretty harsh when you try to go slow, and it goes really well when you try to push it more. But still, it's a huge difference between the previous generation and this one. On this, you can still go slow if you don't know how to build up the speed yet because you're amateur. And it's so easy and so nice to ride, especially with all the electronics and how it handles, how it changes directions. And the key point is to be smooth with it and then build up the speed. We were shown this iconic picture of Ruben Xaus going sideways on the first Hypermotard 1100. So everyone went crazy going sideways into the corners. And this bike will help you to learn how to do it, because in ABS 2 and ABS level 2, if you brake hard with the front and you started to brake with your foot and turn into the corner, the back will slide. You will start the slide, but when you reach 30 degrees of angle, it will stop. Like, it will not correct it to bring it back. No, it will just slide with this 30 degrees of angle, so you can start to feel how it is to slide the bike into the corner, and then you can go to level 1 and try to do it by yourself. From my perspective, this is one of the coolest option you can get from nowadays electronics. And when you are already on level 1, you still have cornering ABS in the front, which is quite crucial to be safe on the racetrack when you push really hard and you are not a racing driver. Even for me, I love this option because I just feel safe. I'm old enough, so ABS works well. Traction control also on level 2 with stock tires, Diablo Rosso Corsa was great. When you start to get on the throttle in the corner, you feel how the back steps a little bit, then you feel it stops because traction control is already on, and then you can roll the full gas and make a perfect slide out of the corner. This is like the best electronics you can get in motorcycle industry, and this bike shows it. Also, wheelie control, you can just put it in level 1 and hit the throttle, and it will teach you how to do wheelies. It will bring the front up and put it down in a really smooth way, so you can get this feeling and then switch off wheelie control, leave the traction control on, and learn how to use the rear brake. The pegs, they could be higher, because when we started to push really hard, we started to scrape the stock pegs, but the idea is like to use this bike every day. I think it will be easy to find the aftermarket pegs which are a little bit higher. Spider makes them, but to scrape those pegs you have to go really fast. What's really important, that as fast as you go, the suspension still holds on. Even in the middle of the day, they changed the suspension settings for us. They made it a way stiffer, way slower, and you could feel that was a proper setup. I was the only guy who made the brakes fade a little bit. It's because I'm too slow, maybe. I really brake. I brake really hard. That's what I do all my life, because then I feel safe. So I cooked the brakes in the end of the session, but the brakes faded just a little bit and stay there. So it wasn't that I lost the brake. I just had to start the session with the lever adjusted a little bit farther, and it was perfectly fine. Stoppies are great. I remember I hated Hypermotard, the previous one, because it wasn't so good for the stoppies. I think the head angle was pretty slack, and you couldn't get a feeling to find the more or less balance point. In this option, no problem at all. You can roll the stoppies how far you are able to do, and I don't know, is it usable information or not. Also, I can accept in this bike the plastic fitment. You can see this pretty soft and wobbles a little bit. I can accept it because it's Hypermotard. It was annoying me on Street Fighter and Panigale V2, and I said in my previous review that the bikes for that kind of money should be perfectly built. Here is a different story, because the idea around the bike is to make it as light as possible, and it's Hypermotard, so you can accept that the plastics are a little bit, say, loose, light, like whatever. The bike in the end is light, but it's not extremely light. It weighs 177 kilograms without fuel, and you don't feel it. When you ride it, you don't feel it. It feels really nice, really nimble, but it's such a good fun that at some point I started to treat it like my super motorbike. So I started to throw it into the corners really quick, and then you could feel that, okay, this is still like a proper road bike with the weight way above 150 kilograms. But even when I pushed too hard, I could feel the biggest, maybe the advantage or one of the strong points of Hypermotard, that the feeling from the front is superb. Even when I was pretty smooth, but when I went into the corner too fast, I pushed the front too much. I just felt in a perfect, smooth way how the front is losing the traction. It wasn't rapid, so the feedback from the front is amazing. So you can go really fast, and you can feel when the tire reaches its grip limit. So this is the biggest difference between Ducati and many other bikes, especially really cheap ones. Like here, every bit is, from technical side, is close to the perfection. Only thing which I didn't like was again the quick shifter, not how it worked, because it was extremely fast, but it's a little bit too sensitive. You have to learn how to use it, like hit the gear and remove your feet, because if your feet is really close to the lever, it's really hard to hit it by accident, and the system is so sensitive, it can cut off the power for a millisecond. And on the first and second session I had it many times. After that I learned how to do it, and the problem was gone. But still, I think they could fix it in the next generations. So I think that's all. From my perspective, this is the perfect bike to make a show off in the city, around the city. If you live in the Alps or near some mountain passes, that bike will be amazing. If you have some, we call it ODTJ in Polish, or we can call it polygon, like a small racetrack, you would have plenty of fun, but I believe it will work on the big track as well. Anyway, special bike, strange bike, but finally it's a good bike. I forgot to mention one pretty big drawback. That's the price. Almost 20,000 euros for SP. That's a lot. I already told the guys from Ducati that it would be nice to see a lot of these bikes, maybe not a lot, but to see this kind of bikes on the streets, to keep the industry alive, to keep the vibe of the motorcycle community, riding, like fantasy. But with this price, it's gonna be hard. Maybe there's a way to cut the profit a little bit to bring this kind of joy to the customers, not only really rich customers. What do you think? Leave me a comment, because maybe I will do another video sooner or later. Cześć.